Hey everybody, so it's time for us to show you a video of our service truck that's been with us for about a year now. It's our F550. Yes, the fender and everything was beat up when we got it. This is kind of a unique truck. It's a 2000 F550 four-wheel drive 7.3 with a ZF6 6-speed manual transmission. You won't see a lot of these in the 550s. It has 488 gears and it can cruise right around 65 miles an hour, 70 if you really want to push it. It will go faster, but at that point you're just drinking diesel like crazy because it's turning, I don't know, 70 miles an hour, probably 2700-ish RPM. It's kind of screaming at that point. It really likes just to kind of chug along at like 65, which is around, 2400 RPM. But it's been a really good truck. We pulled with it. It's got a 5K Liftmore crane. My pride and joy is this is a Wellmark 225. It's been a really great machine. I got it with like 700 hours on it. It has the CH23S 23 horsepower Kohler. It's like 670 cc. We've used this to run our house. I've done quite a bit of arc welding with it. A lot of times we're just running our little 215 Vulcan off of it, and it gets the job done just fine. We have an adapter for it, just a 4-pin to a 3-pin adapter on the 220, and it works. But a lot of times for small jobs, railing, things like that, you could easily run it off the 120 and it has no problem. Generally, our compressor will be down here, and we have a little rigid air compressor that we just run. It's obviously 120. We run it up to the Wellmark 225. Yes, an engine drive compressor would be nice, but honestly that little rigid does just fine. I've ran our plasma cutter off of it and it handles it with no problem. And that's running the compressor off of the 225 at the same time as the Vulcan 215. So yes, it can run the welder and the compressor simultaneously if needed be. But going back over here, this is actually rated at 10,500 peak watts and 9,000 continuous. It's basically a Lincoln. So all the parts for it is Lincoln, even though it says Wellmark. This is the same thing as like a Lincoln 10,000 or a Ranger 8 or 9. Basically the same machine. You can see the parts numbers up there. And the dash panel looks really similar to a Lincoln 10,000 plus, ironically. So yes, it's basically a Lincoln machine. I paid $1,000 for it, and it's been a great machine. One thing about these F550s are the 19.5 rear tires and front tires, obviously. They can get very expensive to buy for. This one does have manual outriggers on it. Our terrible cannot think today. Our terrible repair on our vise. Just 2-inch receiver on the back. Nothing special. We had the farm tag on it because this guy was driving it back to Tennessee, and I gave somebody a set of tags a while back and still haven't gotten them back. The guts to lift more crane. We've got the control in there, the battery for it. We've had it on the charger just because it's been cold. These are pretty good cranes for the money, guys. If you're in the market for them, they're great. Nothing special here, just more wiring for the crane. This is where we used to keep all of our sockets and things of that nature. Extensions. We'd put all of our extensions and adapters up through here. Have my socket rails down here. And then kits, like for my Milwaukee set and stuff, would be up here. Just real easy to get to. And of course, the inside. The seat is beat to all hell, but I mean, inside's fairly clean. For a truck that has 351,000 miles, it can't be beat. I paid a little over $7,000 for the truck. It had some really knobby tires on it when I got it. They're beat up. I actually got this used set as takeoffs off of a emergency vehicle. They have to change them out ever so often. So I got these tires with like 80% tread for I think $400 and put on it because the tires that were on it were just completely shot out. They had used it like in the backwoods and maybe for logging or something like that, but they were in really bad shape. So I have $1,000 in the welder, $400 in the tires, $7,800 in the truck. I cleaned it up. I did service it. I put a riff raff diesel regulator return on it, HPX crossover pipe, of course, rebuilt the fuel filter housing, new fuel pump, silly stuff like that. But for the most part, it's the way I've got it. I have probably somewhere between $9,000 and $10,000 in the truck total. Today, I am taking $15,000 cash for it, the way you see it. So, yeah, it's come a long way since then, but I'm making about $5,000 off of it. The 550 is great. I don't use the crane as much as I thought I would. If I was doing more heavy work, I probably would, but I'm trying to get out of the heavy work and do more smaller stuff, smaller jobs that pay a little bit more. And we've got our new truck, which is going to be really cool. It's way more fuel efficient. It's a lot more practical for us and our family because it allows us to put 6 people inside, and we have a big family. This was great, but with me doing other things, helping with sports teams, things of that nature, I would find myself trying to rush back from a job to go pick the kids up from school, but I would have to take this back to the house, switch vehicles, and that kind of thing. Otherwise, I would keep this truck. It drives me crazy that I'm getting rid of it, but I set a price on it. I said if I got that price, I would let it go. We bought the other truck about 2 months ago. We haven't had it on the channel yet, but we will. And yeah, I hate to see her go, and that's one of the reasons I'm making this video. We did clean up that rack on top. It's not the prettiest, but that's to protect the crane, or sorry, not the crane, but to protect the welder. If you're gonna have one of these trucks with a crane and you have an expensive welder on it, I strongly suggest building one that was built all out of scrap. Yeah, it helps hold the stingers and stuff for my welder, but it also, that's strong enough where if you have a crane failure and that crane falls down directly on it, it's not gonna bend this tubing. That tubing will protect that very expensive engine drive machine. And these are really expensive, and that was one of the reasons I was hesitant to get rid of it, because this machine right here, to find something that's comparable right now, even I think the Hobart Champion, which is a pretty good machine for the money, is right around $4,000 and maybe a little bit more. So probably gone up to about $4,500 now if I had to guess. That's just off the top of my head. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, just to get an entry-level machine, you're looking at probably around $4,000. And for nicer machines, you're probably looking upwards of $6,000 or $7,000. The problem is a lot of them have PC boards in them. Some of those machines have problems, and if it fails, you're kind of SOL'd. Under the hood, I'll show you real fast, but it's really nothing special. So, walk around here and show you. Once again, this truck is a work truck. It is beat up like you would expect. There you go. I'll try to keep it pretty well maintained. Try to keep it fairly clean. You can see the riffraff return in there. Regulated return. A couple other riffraff products. Replaced a couple of the boots. You know, normal stuff. But I mean, overall, stock, you know, we've got a very small tune in it. Like a 30 horsepower tune. It's an optimized 2003 F250, F350 tune. So it's bare bones, like I think it's about 30 horsepower over stock. It doesn't smoke at all. It's noticeable, but it's mainly because with the inverter and stuff we had on it and trying to run things like feed power back to the crane and things of that nature, we have the idle set at about 800 RPMs where they normally would be about 650. And that helps the AC blow a little bit colder in the summer, especially if you're doing paperwork in the truck. And also if you're, it helps produce just a little bit more amperage off the alternator to really help that 750 watt inverter and all that good stuff. Not something you have to do. You could always go to another, you know, high output alternator. But I really noticed that 150 RPMs really helped the AC. And that tune was done by DP Tuner. Sent the ECU into them. Took a couple days, sent it back. It was fairly cheap. I know there's a lot of programmers out there and everybody's got their preference. But that one worked good for me. Happy with it. Stock intake, stock exhaust. It's got a gold spring in it for the fuel pressure regulator, which has been rebuilt. but does pretty good on fuel economy for a old 7.3 with 488 gears and so much weight. I'm gonna miss her. Anyway, guys, I've been promised I would get her on the channel, so we finally did. I'm gonna miss her, but I think you guys will like the next truck that we've got coming up, and we'll have it on here in a few weeks. As always, be safe. Thanks for watching all the way.